We are so fucking back. Bitcoin at 78,000 US dollars. What happened? We had, as always, of course, Taco Tuesday. Trump yesterday, I think around 10 or just before 11 p.m., put out another statement. Trump extends Iran's ceasefire blockade as peace talks stumble. There are no peace negotiations taking place. Trump is scared shitless. Trump is once again extending his deadline because he can't think of anything else to do. And with that, welcome to a new crypto video, and yes, I'm back again. After having a full week of vacation behind me, and when I finally sit down to look at the news, well, sorry everyone, but when I take a close look at the current news situation, the market charts, and absolutely everything else, it honestly feels like I was never even gone at all. Absolutely nothing has happened in an entire week. We still have high bond yields. We still have, okay, a slightly lower oil price, Bitcoin above 78K. Okay, but if we take a look on, Friday, April 17th, we were already in this area. As always, guys, it's a shit show. We're definitely going to take a look at everything you need to know now. Let's take a look at the current data. And yes, before we get started, as always, feel free to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and of course, feel free to join the free Telegram talk and Signal group. If you're interested in updates, news, and signals, feel free to join. You'll find the link for that for free down in the video description. Feel free to check it out. All right. So, as I said, the most important news, Trump has once again extended his ceasefire a bit because, of course, he had no other choice since Iran wasn't interested. And Trump then said, well, in that case, he won't send his people either. Oh, now people are getting scared, so we're extending the ceasefire again just so we can say, yeah, we're the ones in charge. Because once again, we've, just forget it. Let's move over to the stock markets. Oil extends drop on signs of Iran blockade relief. Strange, why is oil dropping again now? Oh, right, because the ceasefire was extended a bit again. Still, no ships are passing through the Strait of Hormuz. It really is. It's a comedy show. I've been saying for 2 or 3 weeks now, there has to be a South Park episode about this because there's just no other way to explain it anymore, right? I mean, let's be honest. There are as many ceasefires as there are ups and downs in oil prices. Or is it just a liquidation event after all? Let's take a look at the heat map. As we saw, there was still quite a bit lying around at $78,000. The bigger cluster is still at $73,000 and below $70,000. Let's move up a time frame, that is to the monthly time frame, and take a closer look at the whole thing, specifically where the liquidity is located. We clearly have more, or still significantly more, lying below us, but we're simply in a news-driven market, and that can be easily confirmed here once again. This is basically the spot order book here, which I keep showing you in the videos. And yes, you can see for yourselves the volume itself isn't really high. This is the total volume again over the course of yesterday. Yeah, we were around 20 million, but that's just too little considering we're already back at 78,000. And yesterday we were still at around 75,000. So we've pumped 3,500 with a volume of 10 million, 20 million. That's too little. Let's go one time frame deeper, or rather, let's dive a bit deeper directly into the market. Value area high has been reached. There's spot demand, but futures demand is still significantly higher. The largest cluster right now is here at 78,500 US dollars. The market could also grab that in the short term. But let's be honest, the market is exactly the same as it was a week ago. Nothing has changed or nothing is different. The only thing that could still cause a bit of unrest, and Furkan made an important post about this, or rather wrote it out in more detail. We'll discuss this in more detail tomorrow in the live stream, the issue with Kevin Warsh. He is definitely a guy who favors restrictive monetary policy. That means, as was written in there, the balance sheet is the core problem. According to Warsh, the Fed's $6.7 trillion balance sheet has fueled wealth inequality. His thesis, if the balance sheet had remained smaller, interest rates would be lower, inflation would be better, and the economy would be stronger. Warsh is not exactly known for loose monetary policy, for a generally relaxed attitude like, yeah, lower the rates, lower everything, and everything is awesome. And yesterday, he also emphasized again that he will not be Trump's puppet. That's still a big question mark. Yes, and the week after next, we still have Japan, of course, and of course the Fed to deal with. The last probably the last possible rate decision by Powell. I'm going to miss the guy, and then we'll see how things go from there. But at the moment, as I said, Bitcoin is at 78,000 US dollars with little change in volume. I've been thinking a lot, to be honest, also over the past week, wondering if I did something wrong. But for me, I'm sticking to my thesis. For me, this is not a normal market. For me, it's an absolute shit show, apparently caused by Trump and insider trading. There are now signals, actually it's already been confirmed, but apparently there are supposed to be investigations underway suggesting that insider trading is happening more frequently, especially whenever Trump posts something. You can see it. The market went up again before it rolled over once more, because if we look at the oil price is still at $90. It's clearly too high, and in my opinion, and I stand by this, undervalued given the overall situation. The Strait of Hormuz is closed, and possibly more and more flights are being cancelled worldwide. Lufthansa is now cancelling 20,000 flights by now, mainly domestic flights, of course, and possibly a kerosene shortage in 4 to 6 weeks in the EU. There are quite a few things here that don't add up for me regarding this whole topic at the moment. Then, you know what else I always pay attention to, of course, government bonds. The 2-year bonds are still at 3.75 or 3.76. The 5-year bonds are still at 3.9%, and the 10-year bonds at 4.28%. That doesn't look healthy, in my opinion. That's still clearly too high if, I think 9 trillion need to be refinanced. And even the 20 and 30-year bonds look more like consolidation and stability rather than, we're back at an absolute peak and the markets are going to the moon. It still doesn't make any sense. Even the EU is back over 3% again. Something isn't right. The question is, what will be the trigger? I've been thinking about that too. I can't tell you because Trump is just going to do another Taco Tuesday anyway. So much for that. But in the end, not much has really changed about this whole market situation. That's all for now on that. So liquidity is still a bit above us. Trump is doing the taco thing. Otherwise, for me, this is still absolutely a shit move. And in my opinion, we're still absolutely in a bear flag here, just like we basically had from November until around the end of January or the beginning of February. Let's move over to the altcoins. What's been happening there? They're positioning themselves a bit better, but let's be honest, it's the same picture. So here too, we can basically draw a completely normal line and end up, just like with Bitcoin at the moment, in a kind of bear flag or rising wedge or whatever you want to call it. Very little has changed in the situation. For me, it's still a D here. No matter how high we extend here, for me, nothing has changed for now, with clearly lower targets, especially for Ethereum. Same story with Solana. Solana as well, you can see it with the altcoins, not much is really happening. We had, I think 2 days ago, this rave scam drop or whatever, where it dropped 99% within 24 hours. But that was another sign of how quickly you can get wrecked in this market. 6.7 billion, I think, in market cap was wiped out within 24 hours. That doesn't even have to happen. And still, the altcoins remain absolutely uninteresting because the interest rate situation is still the same. Interest rates are high, and there's still the risk that they might continue to rise globally as well. And otherwise, well, I don't really know either. Let's move over to the dollar, which is still at 98 at the moment. Pretty much in step, of course, with oil and naturally the volatility index. Japan, let's see, still relatively low. Next week is the interest rate decision. It's going to be really, really exciting to see whether they raise rates or not. We'll take a look at that next week as well. Otherwise, let's move on to the traditional markets. The volatility index is still at 20. So now I have to ask you a question. The volatility index is basically a hedge against potentially falling markets. So let's quickly check, where do we have the S&P 500 here? This is the S&P 500. The S&P 500 has been significantly overextended in recent days. Significantly overextended. The B variant is still basically in play, and oh, wrong chart. Here, this is where I wanted to go. The sell zone is still active. That means I'm short on the S&P 500 again. S&P 500 is heading for a new all-time high. But the volatility index hasn't even reached its lows yet. For me, that's exactly the big uncertainty factor. We still have oil prices above $90. We still have a strong US dollar, or rather a strengthening US dollar. We have a volatility index that's still hovering around 20 or 21 without much happening there or even slightly rising, while the S&P 500 is hitting a new all-time high. That doesn't fit together at all, and that's something you just have to recognize. And as long as the current market conditions fail to stabilize and settle down a bit, or unless the volatility index experiences a very substantial and noticeable decrease, I am going to maintain a somewhat cautious and bearish outlook on the situation. Things can change however they want, but for me, this just isn't the market phase to become extremely bullish. As I said, I did some thinking while I was on vacation about whether maybe I was being too bearish. Maybe I should also mention that my views are not short-term. That means if you're hoping for a drop in the next 24 hours or something like that, sorry, my analyses, or rather my outlooks, are a bit more medium term, I would say. Maybe I should have always mentioned that a bit more, but that's just how it is. Otherwise, if we take a quick look at individual stocks, Alphabet still hasn't reached a new all-time high. Apple has now announced a new CEO, but still hasn't hit an all-time high either. Let's move on to NVIDIA. NVIDIA also hasn't reached a new all-time high yet. So say what you want, but something about this just isn't normal. By the way, Circle, since a few questions came up again and we haven't looked at it in a while, is still possibly in a wave 2. So it could still take a little while, possibly, and this should also be mentioned, that right now, where did I put my tool? Here, right now, we might have just completed wave B and are now heading down into wave C. We already discussed this in the live stream, but I wanted to mention it again in the video. So in my opinion, wave 2 is definitely not finished here yet. Otherwise, that's it from my side for today's video. We'll catch up again tomorrow with a fresh update. And tomorrow there will also be another live stream. I'm excited. I'm feeling totally refreshed. And otherwise, yeah, don't let anyone fool you. So I'm going to continue to take it easy. I'm only in a few positions right now. That means the long position on Bitcoin is still running. The short position on Bitcoin is still running. And that's it. Well, the short on the S&P 500 is still open, but otherwise I'm taking it easy. Don't let yourselves get fooled by this shit show. Pure liquidity dumping, grabbing, whatever you want to call it, and we'll talk again tomorrow. Thank you all so much for watching. I wish you all a wonderful start to your day, and see you then. Stay crazy.